Hello and welcome to, I think it's Culture Vulture number 4 now. So asking the question, what is culture? And today I'm going to draw on the last video where we looked at the difference perhaps between a high culture, a sort of Matthew Arnold kind of look, and a common culture, which was drawn partly from Raymond Williams's ideas. And today I want to look at this very thin volume here from Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie. And ostensibly, We Should All Be Feminists is the title of this essay. But I just want to look into what she's talking about, culture here. And there's just a few references that I want to pull out of here and perhaps get some lessons about the difficulties of common culture. So she talks here, I think it's the first mention of culture in the piece, that when she decides to call herself a feminist, and an academic, Nigerian academic woman, came to her and told her that feminism was not our culture, that feminism was un-African, and I was only calling myself a feminist because I'd been influenced by Western books. Now, this, I suppose, touches on ideas around cultural appropriation, about whose culture is this, and all those ideas. Can you have and share across nations, for instance? So if we're talking about the idea of culture as something we all hold in common, what about if we are bringing something in that we don't hold in common in this culture, but someone over there, over in a different culture, perhaps they do hold it in common and we're bringing it across? Does that involve problems? Is it something we should do, something we shouldn't do? Does it belong to that culture and not to our culture? Whose idea is the ownership of culture? And if we introduce something from another culture and it's something we don't have in common in our culture, does that then take away the idea of culture as being something we hold in common? Now, she really goes into this in an excellent way when she talks about what is a culture, what is the point of culture. Now, here we go. Culture is constantly changing. I have beautiful twin nieces who are 15. If they had been born 100 years ago, they would have been taken away and killed, because 100 years ago, Igbo culture considered the birth of twins to be an evil omen. Today, that practice is unimaginable to all Igbo people. So culture moves. Of course it does. It doesn't have a solidity, although it does have a solidity. And those two things come into some sort of conflict. So this is where she goes into that. What is the point of culture? And I love this bit. Culture functions ultimately to ensure the preservation and continuity of a people. In my family, I am the child who is most interested in the story of who we are, in ancestral lands, in our tradition. My brothers are not as interested as I am, but I cannot participate because Igbo culture privileges men, and only the male members of the extended family can attend the meetings where major family decisions are taken. So although I am, and this is a lovely bit, so although I am the one who is most interested in these things, I cannot attend the meeting. I cannot have a formal say because I am female. So there we go. We have the idea of the culture as common, the culture we have in common, something we hold in common. And yet, and the continuity and preservation of a way of seeing the world, the way that the world might be. And yet if we are excluded from it, if we feel that this culture is not saying to us that we are involved in the conversation or the decisions or the in this case, the decisions, major family decisions, but other parts of the decision-making process, which might be formal or informal, then can we say it's our culture? Now, this is where next bit, I slightly agree and slightly disagree with that. So culture does not make people. People make culture. Now, I disagree with that. I think it's a two-way process. I think we are both made by the culture around us, and that we also can make it around us as well. And obviously, this process, because we are born into the culture, without us, it would carry on regardless. When we are born into it, then we have the opportunity to make changes to it. Now, that might be an arbitrary thing. It might be something around luck or design, I don't know. But we do have a say within it, no matter how small. And of course, butterflies, flapping wings, and all that we can talk about. Anyway, if it is true that the full humanity of women is not our culture, then we can and must make it our culture. And this is key, I think, that culture involves agreement and disagreement. It involves argument. It involves discussion, conversation, making things against things. It's a sort of Hegelian process of a kind of thesis, antithesis thing going on. So we are constantly remaking culture in different ways, and it is constantly making us in other ways. And if we look to pulling her arguments together here, we can see the problem with the common culture argument is that if we say it's the common culture, well, we've also got to get into the way that the common culture is a place for argument, for debate, for conflict, as well as that also the source of conflict resolution, of moving things forward and all that. Thank you very much for watching again, and hope to see you next time.